here. I'm not pausing for nothing. I'm counting 9 seconds because what we discovered is the first 9 seconds of our live does not really go live. Stays a secret. And usually this is when I'm telling you hello. Yeah. Today we're not talking about money. Yeah. It seems that everyone hates money today. And whenever it relates to crypto, I see Dennis on the side here smiling, laughing, or whatever. So today we'll not be talking about money the way you know it. We'll not be talking about any other form of money that relates to wealth and profit. We'll be talking about wealth in humanity. You know, our environments give us so much. And by our environments, I mean the humans who live around us and who supports us, our communities. Within our communities, uh, and within the core of our communities are people who really care and who group themselves to care and support everyone else. And those are generally NGOs in most of the world. Now, remember what we'll say today, and this is a big disclaimer here. We don't usually say disclaimers, but this is a big disclaimer. NGOs in some places in the world are not permitted to do something like that, and it's acceptable and understandable, and we only support them to do what's permitted in their jurisdiction because we always want to be on the right side of regulation. However, NGOs in many parts of the world can do this to support every single person around us. How? And what does Blocksquare have to do with it? And this guy you see on screen now trying to be funny, and he's not. So, Dennis, what is it that we can help NGOs help everyone with? Good morning or good evening.
Hey, good evening, I guess. I guess it's good evening. But for some people, it's good morning, you
It
know?
is. It's always
Yeah,
good morning for someone.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
So
well,
NGOs.
yeah, well, as it comes, as it happens, an NGO could easily tokenize a project, whether that's a project that is um, fundamentally going to improve the quality of life of a community, or if it's a side project for, as again, for the scope of the NGO. But a lot of times it also has something to do with real estate, and that's
So
where money needs to be raised, and value needs to be distributed in a certain way. And as it happens, it might be the case that some NGOs could be eligible of using tokenization as a fundraising tool.
so what did we do? Listen to the theory here. NGOs need to raise money either through the community or globally. Some NGOs work only through a certain community in a certain Ljubljana, for example, and they care about improving the bridges or clearing whatever, or building community parks. They take care of a certain thing that is local. There's other NGOs, Greenpeace, that is global, and Ocean Cleanup, which is an amazing initiative that cleans the ocean, and that's global. So each NGO has a target. Each NGOs need support from a local community or a global community, people who share the same cause, usually either locally or globally. Now, the idea of them raising money locally or globally has been there for so long. Yet, in general, people who support would support more and would like to support something they do understand they're supporting in specific. So, if they're building a park in their neighborhood, you will have more neighbors chipping in just because it's in their neighborhood, because people care more about things that are nearer to them. That's obvious and realistic. At Blocksquare, we decided to give back to the community and specifically support NGOs, support everyone else. How? What we're doing is we're saying, if you're an NGO today, and yes, we're talking to you if you're an NGO, and if you're not, if you're supporting an NGO, probably you should tell your NGO to apply. We're taking 3 NGOs in phase 1, where we have a program that Dennis will tell us about in a second. And that program will allow those NGOs, will allow you to come and benchmark or hedge on our utilizing our technology, Blocksquare's infrastructure, to raise funds for a certain specific project. And in your community, It can be in your community globally or in your community in a certain place, certain locality. Dennis, what do NGOs need to do to apply, and what are the eligibility criteria, and how will we select the right NGO for this initiative? Because we can only take three, and I'm sure that we will receive many more than three, hopefully many more than three. Yeah, we receive one application at the end of the day. So we receive many more applications than three. And we have, in the programs that we've done to now, especially programs where we support or we give back to communities or to the society, we had applications from plenty and too many. And actually, it was very difficult to even figure out between them who's the right party. Dennis, how do they apply? What's the eligibility criteria, and how do they win, and how to select the winner?
Well, basically, it's the application process is very, very straightforward. Just go to blocksquare.io, reach out to us, send an inquiry, leave the message that you are representing an NGO, and that's basically all you need to do to get in touch with us. We will then schedule, or you will basically choose a time to schedule an intro call with us, with somebody from our team. And through that call, we'll basically understand your position, where you see you could use this technology, but as well, we will be kind of informing you with where to find the information so that you can make sense of our tech as well. And we will set kind of a timeline for you to submit additional documentation for your project. And based on those documents that we receive, we'll be able to make our selections. We don't have a deadline. We don't have anything like it. We just said that for this first phase, we're going to support 3 NGOs with their goals. And then maybe we're going to do that on a quarterly basis, maybe on a biannual basis. Depends really on our ability to support different NGO initiatives and NGOs as such.
100%. At the end of the
Yeah,
day, we're a commercial entity and we have limited ability to support communal. We would love to do it with don't understand us wrong, with thousands of you guys, but we can't, as a team and as a company, support thousands at a time. We're trying to do the most we can every now and then, whenever we can.
yeah, exactly. And it's basically it's an initiative that we hope will be able to extend to more parties in time. But please bear with us. This is kind of an initial reach out to start working with NGOs in this manner, because we see that there's many initiatives around. And here, maybe we can touch point directly on the energy crisis in Europe, for instance, what's happening. You might have communal projects that are around and might be a good fit for this type of use by an NGO, supporting them, and or supporting an NGO with the tokenization. You might have really local NGOs that are trying to bring new energy, renewable energy sources to communities. And I think this is kind of the most pressing concern when it comes to Europe, at least. But then we have as well other cases that might be not, that we probably didn't even think of. Makram, what would be some specific cases or applications of our technology in relation to NGOs? What do you think might
I'll give you
be like?
examples.
Yeah.
I'll start by my village. I'm from Mount Lebanon. I'm from a village called Badaran. It's an amazing village. Everyone in the world should visit it. We have an airport. It's not a functional airport, but we have an airport there. However, what I would tell you is, in my village, there is an old school, which unfortunately does not function currently as a school. At the same time, there is a few playgrounds that were related to that school, where, remember how important is that to a community. If it's a small village of 5,000 people, such a place not only connects the community, but allows them to get educated near without going so far away, allows them to get grounded in the village, which is very important because, governments have an issue in moving people back from cities to villages. And then in many countries in the world today, definitely not in Lebanon, but you get paid to go back to the village. And in my village, it's so unfortunate that this place does not function as what it should function today. If you have a local NGO that comes in and says, and again, I'm not sure if that is even possible in my country, because I know that money raising in Lebanon does not uh, always come easy. There's other jurisdictions, for example, like UAE, where I believe you're not supposed to raise money as an NGO except through certain channels to make sure that everything falls under tight guidelines of legislation and no one is scammed or no one is. But there's many countries in the world, like I'm sure in Europe, it's much easier. In the US, it's very easy for anyone with any cause to raise money for that cause from people who would like to support. And imagine that in my village, the 5,000 people can chip in $10 each to rejuvenate that. And imagine they can do it from wherever they are in the world. Remember, Lebanese diaspora is huge. We are, as they say, we are around 3, 4, maybe 5 million in Lebanon, and we are, as they say again, around 20 million outside Lebanon. So unfortunately, we have no official numbers since a very long time, but those are the numbers that are approximately right, hopefully. So imagine 20 million want to support. So for every one in Lebanon, there's 4 outside who want to support. And that would be amazing. And you would be able to build that village. Imagine that if you, Dennis, today, you want to help someone in Africa, you want to help someone in Asia, you want to help someone in the US, in Latin America, you want to help someone in Poland, you want to help someone in Germany, you want to help someone anywhere in the world today. You want to help a community, you want to help an ethnicity, you want to help anything that you connect to. Imagine that you're able to do it by clicks of a few buttons in a very transparent way that it shows on the network, on chain, and at the same time you're able to do it from the pleasance of your air-conditioned office at any moment of time you wish. And you can do it with a small amount as you want. So when I was in Ljubljana, by the way, a few weeks ago, which I loved, I didn't like the people there. Some of them, like there's 3 of them that I didn't like. Everyone else I liked. However, um, uh, um, in Ljubljana, for example, there is beautiful places. Similarly, remember when we were in Tivoli Park, and there was
Yeah,
this place which had an artist gallery, and it was a very important artist. And actually, you have a piece of his art in your house
too.
too. Okay,
Yeah,
they were gifts for your wedding, isn't it?
yeah,
So
yeah. Self gifts.
exactly. So imagine that you have a community that would like to support similar activity, and they would like to buy a piece of land,
Yeah,
build a building, and support. And that is possible. And in Ljubljana, you have that sense of community. Yeah, it's a city, but in the center of so much of greenery, so much of fun. You see people smiling everywhere, and this is what I enjoyed about the city. And most of locals are out there. It's not like tourists all through. So, regardless, this is something that's available everywhere in the world, probably, or in any places, and people would like to support causes. So, let's say they have a school or they have a piece of land that they want to change into a park. Let's say there's an old park that they want to rebuild and recreate functions around. They would be able to do it as a community in a transparent manner. Everything is public, everything is on chain, isn't it, Dennis?
yeah. It's like you mentioned, Ljubljana. We have not far from where this office is. Um, we have it's actually next door to where my kids go to school and kindergarten, in the same district. And there's an area where it's not a park, but it's like a playground. It's a playground with, there's a couple of, there's a basketball court, there's also a tennis court, there's place uh, to play for the younger kids,
I know it. It's on the other
to
side of
use.
the river, isn't it?
Um,
When you cross the
yeah,
road from your house to the other side.
it's across the road, along the river. You go away from the city direction. It's like 10 minutes walk. It's
I
not maybe
walked there.
15 minutes
Cool.
from there.
Nice
And
place, guys. Okay.
and it's not new. It's deteriorated. It deteriorated. It also has this complex, this building premise that obviously needs renovation, not just the outside area, but also the building. And what's happening within the community, so this, imagine there's um, I don't know, 10,000 people living around that area in different apartments. And imagine that this area is kind of like the centerpiece for their kids to spend time outdoor. And because it's a communal area, there's nobody really investing in it. It's not like a private property where somebody has a commercial interest in, right? So it's kind of a common good, let's say. And there's plenty of those throughout Europe, I believe. It's not just this specific case. But what's happening is, what's probably going to happen with this piece of land is that the municipality is going to sell it to an investor who's going to make additional apartments there in the end. Why? Because there's not enough financial support or interest in making this place really, really usable again, or up to today's standards.
Maybe, Dennis, there is interest, but there is no structure. And the proof that there's interest is that you're
No, wait.
interested to have that
The
done.
interest lies within the current inhabitants. There's, as I said, there's thousands of people living just nearby, and the real estate that they own where they live, right, is valuable, or it would be even more valuable if there would be a park or a proper grounds there, properly maintained, right? Then otherwise there would be, if you built additional, I don't know, supply of housing units on that same ground, right? Because the added value for your current real estate is then it just taken away. So the interest in investing in such project would definitely come from those households directly. But there's no structure, like you said, that would facilitate the community to engage in supporting that kind of project, to be dropped for the municipality and not pursued, but instead saying, hey, you know what, we have the money, we're gonna do it. You don't need to put this on a developer to create a for-profit type of residential real estate project. And
How does this sit
yeah,
with regulation? So let's say an NGO or an unformed yet NGO. So it can be an NGO that's formed already or an unformed already NGO. An NGO, a community that wants to form an NGO to do such things to improve the
yeah.
community. And every community can do that. How does it fall within regulation as an NGO to come and apply tokenization in Slovenia, for example? So let's talk about Ljubljana.
Well, I'm not the legal expert in what an NGO can do or not, but
But
we have
we've been living tokenization in Ljubljana for
exactly,
some time now. So
exactly,
you know how this part at
exactly.
least.
But here is like an NGO is able to raise money much easier. Why? Because it cannot then distribute that money outside of it. So any assets that it will acquire will need to be maintained under that NGO as an entity as such, and it cannot operate for profit, basically, to redistribute wealth to shareholders. Let's say, right? So it's a much, I would say it's in a much better position to utilize even tokenization than a for-profit entity that would require maybe different licenses to operate, right? Yeah.
And so let's say there's three that win the exercise. However, let's say there's a fourth who is interested. Will we be able to give them the ability to use the technology at a discounted rate? Because again, they're not for profit. They're trying to help the community.
Yeah. I would say we will treat this based on a per basis, per case basis, and move as we go. If we are able to support it, then we will definitely do it. I just know that we decided to support 3, and this is a decision that we've taken recently, and yeah, and so let's go with 3, and
So let's start
let's
with
see.
let's start with the first three, and let's say the following. So if you're a community, not formed NGO yet, or you're an NGO, and you want to do, and again, we're talking here about 1 or 2 examples, but I'm sure there's tens or hundreds of examples of how can that be useful for a community and be useful for an environment, isn't it, Dennis? So there's tens of ways how can tokenization be used in a transparent. Actually, it offers extra additional transparency for anyone raising money, for any NGO raising money. If you are an NGO and you want to reach a bigger community, if you're a global NGO and you want to collect money from any part of the world, cross legislation, cross currency, and without the issues of cross currency transactions, or without the issues of cross currency complexities within the transactions, I believe this is the right solution for you. And the best about it is that you will be raising for a certain specific project or initiative. So if you're developing that park, or if you're buying that piece of land to develop a communal small school, you can do it effectively, efficiently, and specifically. So more people would be motivated to support that exact initiative, and people who are counterparts who are benefiting from that mostly will have even a bigger intention to do that, especially if they know that it's invested where they want it to be invested. So we invite everyone, every NGO in the world, and to jump in and apply, so that hopefully we can reach and support the biggest number of people possible through you guys. You are supporting people. If we support you, we feel that we've done a part of what we can with everyone engaged and involved. Dennis, there is news, things that we've done this week, the past week, and the past few days. What have we done? Have we tokenized any new property, or are we working on tokenizing any new property?
We're always working on tokenizing new property.
Do you want to talk
uh,
about one in specific that we probably would be?
um, I'm not
Or
sure,
not yet?
but
Not yet.
maybe not yet. Yeah.
Not
But
this block chat. However, next block chat probably you will have a very interesting
yeah,
property that's being tokenized as we speak now, hopefully. Due diligence is happening. That's why probably Dennis doesn't
yeah,
want to talk much about it until due
yeah,
diligence is done and we
exactly,
verify
exactly.
that it's really qualifies to sit there. Yeah.
Yeah, because we have we receive inquiries, and there's times where certain inquiries require a bit more work from our end to verify all the submitted documentation and everything before we confirm it, of course. And yeah, and as well, we're a lot of people from our community are asking about, when version 03, which is a big improvement from when exchange, right? uh, or when moon. So we're getting, to the right place, which is when version 03. And
By the
we're
way, I
working.
believe the community is
Yeah,
pushing more now for that, specifically with what's happening in the world. And
exactly.
now people are understanding more the value of decentralization in general, and they see now the benefit of decentralization. So I believe that I'm not sure if that's something right from me to say, but the worse it becomes for centralized institutions, and trust me, I don't hope any bad to any of them, because at the end of the day, with the I contradict with many people in the world. In my opinion, the existing system, including banks and again, I know that many of you will hate me for saying that, but I like the existing system. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm sure it's not efficient, but at least it's there. And it's there and it's working since a very long time. And it impacts our lives in a positive way, even if it may have negative impacts and have underlying issues, being fundamental core issues or not. It's a system. And I always say, um, peace and tranquility are uh, valuable commodities and luxuries that are only afforded by those who value them above anything and everything else. So I believe in the existing system, there is that. So at least there is a system, regardless. The more centralized, um, the more issues take place within centralized organizations, institutions, specifically crypto related. Again, although we hope none bad for any, because many people have pain because of that, people are respecting more and understanding the value of decentralization, which is how the system probably should work. Am I right, Dennis? Is that meaningful or meaningless, what I've just said?
I think it's like
I
there's
know that the part that you feel is meaningless. I understand it. Everyone understands that. I'm talking about
no, but it's basically is like decentralization is something that we all want, but at the same time, we also know that centralization of certain processes and things is required. So decentralization um, doesn't mean necessarily that everything needs to be decentralized. I still think that some people and organizations can make business better than others. So would you need the whole organization that is making this process successfully decentralized? No. If it's making or serving its purpose well, then that's how it, if it's structured in a centralized manner, that's perfectly fine. And here I'm thinking maybe, there's an individual who knows how to build buildings, buy things at the right price, and sell them at a profit, and you want to kind of tap into that process. It's totally centralized. You need to trust that person to do that, even with your money. But why? You don't need to complicate things. If they do it right, and if
yeah,
their
you don't want to
intentions
tap
are
into the
okay,
decision
that's
making in
fine.
that because, yeah.
But yeah, but how you maybe hold um, that trust line into that person, if you hold it without requiring another point of failure and a centralized custodian of that stake in that person, that's basically disintermediating risk, right? Is basically taking risk away and only having the risk of that person performing or not. And that's what we're doing at Blocksquare. Basically, we're creating infrastructure so that you can say, hey, I trust this developer, I trust this real estate professional to do the right thing, to make the right decisions within that investment. But from
Within the
me,
right parameters and framework, yeah, it's not
exactly.
it's not just open that way.
But from me to him, there's nobody in between. It's just me trusting that organization, and that's it. And then there's some tech in between, right? And that's how we're building our infrastructure for this to happen. So you don't need to say, "Hey, I want to invest in this project, so I need to trust this bank or this custodian service to hold my shares or whatever, and I need to have then." If I want to sell it, I need to hire a third party to transact them, etc., and that adds all the costs around it. Here, I hold the funds or on my wallet. And if that person is not performing, then okay, that's what happened. But I make decisions based on past track record of the person that is providing that opportunity to me.
I remember here what Akim is one of the members of our advisory board at Blocksquare, as well as he's the president of and a co-founding member of Fibri, um, and a board member of Fibri as well. So Akim said that there's a balance that should be created. If you let go so much control so fast, things fall apart. And yet, yes, you need people engaged in the probably liability handling. And the good thing about decentralization is you spread the risk of one opinion. However, at the same time, you spread the benefit sometimes of one opinion. So there is pros and cons for everything. But decentralization have a case whenever comes to certain projects, as you just mentioned. So I believe that community is pushing to go back to the version 03. Community is pushing more for that now because of what's happening, because we're seeing grown interest in what we're doing. We're seeing more faces, new faces, some old faces coming back into the community, and that's positive. So in Arabic, and allow me to say here an Arabic statement, رُبَّ ضارة نافعة. It means something that may harm that benefits you at the end of the day. So it's something that harms somewhere but creates a general benefit. So let me ask the question for our community. What about version 03, Dennis?
So version 03, yeah, version 03 is coming up very nicely. It's we are behind schedule with it, but at the same time we need to understand that things need to be done properly, and we will talk about the specifics of version 03 in one of our next blog chats. We're gonna take you through a demo of that version 03. We're gonna show you how it works and what kind of mechanics we've put in place, because you need to remember that with version 03 we're introducing the ability to stake LP tokens. LP tokens, for those who don't know, are your liquidity positions tokens for the liquidity you provide within a protocol like Uniswap, for instance. So the ability of staking is locking them for a definite or indefinite amount of time. And how we envision this is for this LP staking mechanics to be in place for longer period of time, providing long-term liquidity to the whole protocol. So with this in mind is how we built the version 03 functionalities. So really looking forward to be able to demo this to you and go through the whole thing once it's ready for
We
demonstration.
understand why you're pushing, guys, and we really understand because you know the value of version 03 coming into the whole environment which we're part of. However, good things come to those who wait. And similar to how we've waited and come up with a version 02 without issues, without problems, without bugs. Similarly, with version 03, yet the impact here will be magnified because of the value. And people have been waiting for it for some time now because they have been waiting for version 03 prior to us launching version 02, isn't it? So,
Exactly.
it has been some time they're waiting for it, but it's coming. Anything
And I
else you
also
would like
think,
to
yeah, I also think one of the things we need to mention in one of the blog chats, maybe what we can do is we can actually do a deep dive into it in one of those, especially because now we're seeing the first, I would say, batch of marketplace operators or operators, certified partners, or how we call them. Really starting to take a more serious approach to the partnership program. So the partnership program is something you can find on our docs, and it's a way for us to provide access to the tokenization system for marketplace operators on a very interesting discount model where you exchange, as an operator of a marketplace, you exchange an expense on tech into an asset, a digital asset. So it's a way for you to not spend, but instead invest. While all of this, while you are launching your marketplace.
Shall we tell
And
everyone that there is new docs added and new material added to our docs?
um, we can say that as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
so please guys go through it. If you need more clarity on it, feel free to get in touch as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a frequently asked questions section. I believe that we are now expanding, and it's mainly right now to help marketplace operators navigate through the documentation and understand the details on everything we provide. But here, as a community of the DAO, you're welcome to give your opinion or help us out building out that resource. And I think this is where Discord kind of comes really handy, where we can create either even a section for questions and answers, or just use the established channels for people to just post their ideas or their suggestions of how we can improve the documentation that's available, because in the end we need to support anybody using our infrastructure to be able to do that as efficiently and understandably, be able to transfer that knowledge onto their customer base.
Here, a shout out to Brick Trade. Yeah, Brick Trade is a partner who started tokenizing property in London, in the UK, using Blocksquare technology. As we said, for everyone in our community and beyond, support Brick Trade and the energy they will put forward. You will see much more of Brick Trade coming up. We have big hopes on this partnership and beyond. So I believe that there's few other partnerships to be announced very soon. There's much exciting stuff happening. I would tell everyone who's a crypto fan or who's a crypto investor who's being hurt today, maybe by changes in pricing, fluctuation in pricing, I would tell you the following. There is always a different day behind the door. And if your day today is good, obviously your day isn't, then you can only expect that tomorrow will be a bad day. And if your day today is difficult, remember tomorrow is a good day behind it. And it will be good to those who are working on fundamentals silently. So we barely talk about, and we don't put hype into our business silently being built. You do not see flyers and advertisement about version 03 except after it's finished, debugged, trialed, and queried, audited, and launched properly. While we understand that the norm around us is that everyone starts marketing it ages before it comes through. There are businesses that have raised millions of dollars and they do not have tech yet, even to present to the world. So we're doing things fundamentally right. And yes, it's difficult to do things fundamentally right because you do them slower and you live all the challenges of building. Hopefully, everyone with us is building for tomorrow that counts and that matters. Dennis, is there anything else you would like to tell our community or any of the NGOs that is listening to us today?
Well, I invite everybody to connect with us. Just don't think about how to do it or when to do it. Just do it today. That's basically it.
When I was around 7, my
Yeah.
I wanted to buy a gift to someone in class. I don't remember who it was it, but you know there was those blocks of wood with a sticker on them. It's like a small piece of art, if I could call it that way, and the sticker is usually with a writing on it. And I bought someone something that says, "Don't phone, don't write, just come." So, guys, feel free to phone, write, or come through. Visit our environment, visit our block chat. We're here to support you, and we're here to pioneer in what's gonna be the future or is the future of real estate. Thank you so much for being with us today. We hope we didn't bore you. We tried to make it 30 minutes. It's 40 minutes now. I believe you'll bear with us for another 10 minutes. We promise you some new block chats also coming, which are very interesting with some very interesting guests here that are coming up. And yeah, share your views, share your comments. We welcome all of them. Dennis, any last words?
Nothing to add.
Thank you all.